So if you're planning a trip to DC and you want to know all the things to do, then you're going to want to see this video. I have jam-packed lots of different fun things to do inside our 8-day itinerary in Washington, DC. So I did realize when I was editing all my footage from the video, I did not have an intro. So at least I wanted to come on here and tell you guys what this video is all about. So let's get started with this Washington, DC vlog. On the way to DC, we decided to stop at Monticello, which is Thomas Jefferson's house. It is located in Charlottesville, Virginia, which is about 2 hours from Washington, DC. And this was a great stop heading into DC to learn the history of how Monticello was built and also some of the history on what happened here on the grounds. The house itself is located on the mountaintop, and there are two ways that you can enter the grounds. You can either take a courtesy shuttle, which you will walk up a flight of stairs. There's also elevators available for anybody that has some special needs. And then also whenever you get to the top, there are different kind of tours that you can take. We decided to do the most popular tour, which was the highlights tour. It's about 45 minutes. For adults it's $42, and for children ages 12 to 18 it's $13. For kids 5 to 11, $4, and for under 5 it is free. There are also some military discounts and Virginia resident discounts as well. But this was a narrated tour. There were no videos allowed inside the house, so I do not have any footage inside the house for you guys, but it was very informative on how the house itself was built, how long it took, and everything that happened in the history of Thomas Jefferson. So I would highly recommend this, and look at the view. The view from this house is absolutely amazing, and it's just really crazy to think that this type of house was built when it was. So lots of history, different kind of tours that you can take, and if you don't want to take the shuttle up to the top, there are hiking trails that you can do as well. I think it's about a half a mile uphill to get to the mountaintop where Monticello actually is. If you actually want to see the cemetery, it is located downhill a little bit. There is a walking path and some signs that tell you how to get there, that you can go and see the cemetery, and there is a shuttle stop there that can pick you up and take you back down to the visitor center. Also on the way to DC, we stopped at George Washington's house at Mount Vernon. This is about 20 miles outside of Washington, DC, and you do have to get some tickets for ground access, which is $30 for individuals that are 12 and above, and then youth that are ages 6 to 11 are $16, and then children 5 and under are free. But that will gain you access to see the house and the grounds. We did not do a narrated tour. We kind of just went in, stood in line, looked around the house, and came back out and then explored the grounds. And they are actually working on a new museum that you can see after you visit the grounds. They're still a work in progress when we were there, but it should be up and running very soon. So I'll go ahead and just give you a little tour of the room. We're at the Hilton Garden Inn downtown, close to the White House. If you got your closet when you first walk in, there's a microwave, a Keurig, ice bucket. Then down here, you have your refrigerator. Over here is the bathroom, full-length mirror. And then you have a little place to sit with some storage under there, your desk, 2 beds. This is the view to the 14th Street, because this is located on 14th Street. And as I was showing you the view to 14th Street, that is where the McPherson Square stop is on the Metro. So we were literally just across the street. So it was very convenient to grab the Metro anytime we didn't want to do any kind of walking. So we decided to take the Metro to the Arlington Cemetery. There are 2 different ways that you can view the cemetery. You can walk at your own pace, or you can take a tram. We did get there around 9 o'clock, which was an hour after they had opened, and we had to wait about an hour and a half to get a tram that day. So the first stop that we wanted to do was the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier and see the changing of the guard. At that time, which was the last week of March, they were only doing it once an hour at the top of the hour, and then starting in April, they started to do it every 30 minutes. So that was definitely something that we wanted to check out. So that was the first stop that we took off of the tram, and the tram does have different stops that you can go to along the way and hop back on, but the lines were extremely long at each one of the stops, so we decided to just get off at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier and then walk around after that at our own pace.
Dogs! Hey! Reset! Up! Right! Shoulder! Up! Ho! Right! Head! Forward! March! Guard! Halt! Halt!
Okay, so we just left Arlington Cemetery, and here's some tips for if you're coming here during a busy time like we did. We plan to get here at around 8:30 and missed that mark. Talked to a lady, she said when she got here at 8:30 there was no line for the tram, and then we got here around 9:15. Well, we got into the tram line about 9:15. We'd already purchased our tickets online, so we had to wait in the tram line for about an hour and a half. And then we were able to make it to the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. So they're still where they're only doing it at the top of the hour every hour. Starting in April, I think through October, they will do it every 30 minutes. We got there around 11:15 for the 12 o'clock changing of the guard, and that was very nice. And then we decided we were not going to wait in the line for the tram to come back. We walked by the Eternal Flame and the Kennedy grave sites and then left. So it is now 12:30 and we got here at 9:15. So most of our time here today was spent waiting in the tram line. So that's just a little bit of piece of information. Now that we are here though around 12:30, the line is not as long as it was at 9:15. So I'm thinking between 9 and 10:30 is probably the peak time to get here. There were a lot of schools here too, so I don't know if that made a difference or not. And then we are going to hop back on the metro and go to Pentagon City to the mall because I have some picky eaters with me. So there's plenty of choices. We'll just let them choose from there. It's real close to the Arlington Cemetery. I think it's the next stop over. So we're going to check out the food court at the mall, eat lunch, and then we're going to head to the National Mall. But this is peak cherry blossom time, so everything has been super crowded today. I don't know if it usually is or not because we just got back up to the Arlington Cemetery stop on the metro to walk across the Memorial Bridge to head over to the Tidal Basin and to the Lincoln Memorial and some of the National Mall. The mall at Pentagon City that we were going to eat at was full of tour groups, field trips, things like that. Not a place to sit or basically eat, but at least it's a good variety of things. If you're looking for a quick bite that's close to cemetery, and that's a good place to go. Gorgeous, gorgeous weather. So we're going to be walking around the Tidal Basin, and I'll show you that. The beautiful cherry blossoms. I'm so excited about this. I've been wanting to see the cherry blossoms, and we are here at peak time, which just happened to be at the time of my kids' spring break. Before heading to the Tidal Basin to see the cherry blossoms, we decided to walk the bridge that is from the Arlington Cemetery to the Lincoln Memorial. So you can see the Lincoln Memorial in front of us and the Washington Monument as well. So we thought we would just see a few of the monuments before heading to the Tidal Basin. So we got up to the top of the steps. It was a little crowded around the Lincoln Memorial up at the top. And then you can see the Washington Monument and the Capitol behind it and the reflecting pool. They do still have the ADA accessible ramp that is at the memorial, but beautiful pictures and really great experience for the kids. In addition, we also went to the Vietnam War Memorial Wall because it was very close to the Lincoln Memorial, and then we also stopped by the World War II Memorial as well. And because it was peak day for the cherry blossoms, we decided to walk from the memorial to the tidal basin. Our plan was to walk the entire tidal basin to get to the Jefferson Memorial, but it was so crowded that day that there was just no walking to be done along the tidal basin. But it was so beautiful to finally get to see the cherry blossoms, and that day was peak day. And to finish off the day, we decided to eat at Old Ebbitt Grill. We did have reservations, but our reservations were for 10 p.m., which was quite late for the kiddos, but that was the only time that we could get while we were there. So definitely had to make a trip to the old establishment that is right there by the White House. So today is March 30th. It's a kind of rainy day. You can see it's overcast. The temperatures are going to be a little bit warmer than yesterday. And yesterday, we made it to the tidal basin to see peak day of the cherry blossom bloom. So I was so excited for that. We were on our way to the Bureau of Engraving and Printing, or Printing and Engraving. And our time to be here is at 9:30. So one of the things I'd recommend is to plan ahead. Because if you have something that you really want and it's time to enter tickets, we booked pretty much most of ours 30 days in advance, which was a good thing. I did see the sign that said that all of the tour tickets were sold out today. So we just left the Bureau of Engraving and Printing. I could not do any photos there. They will confiscate and call the police to escort you out if you have the phone, which is completely understandable. So I think it was about maybe a 30-minute tour. Kind of told you the steps of printing the papers. And then we're actually doing some work there, so we got to see some of the processes. So we're here at the wharf. We started walking from the Bureau of Engraving. Nice little walk. We were able to walk close to where some cherry blossoms were, get another view of those. And then here's the wharf where you've got lots of restaurants. So here's your fish market, and they're already getting started for the day. It's around 10:30 in the morning. So brunch was at Milk and Honey, but right across the way was also a lobster roll place that I had to check out. It was Mason's Famous Lobster, and they had the main lobster roll, which is cold and mayo based, and they also had the Connecticut roll, which is warm and butter based. So I definitely had to check out how good their Connecticut roll is, because I do like my lobster warm. So definitely had to check that place out, the Mason's Lobster Rolls. And the last stop for the day was the International Spy Museum. It is a little bit of a pricey ticket, and we did add on the camouflage exhibit, which to me was not worth the added cost for that one, but you could do a combo package to add that one along. But it was really neat. The kids loved how interactive it was, and they could pretend to be the spy for the day. We started the day off with some tasty donuts from Astro Donuts and fried chicken, which was a short walk away from the hotel. So I'm here at the Washington Monument, and today we're going to be doing a Washington Monument. We'll go to the top. You have to plan ahead for the Washington Monument to be able to get up to the top. They give only a selected amount each day, and you have to go online 30 days out to try to get them by 10 a.m. Eastern Time. So it took 4 days for me to get these, but I was able to secure 4 tickets for the family to go up to the top. So we have an 11 o'clock entry into the Washington Monuments. And then after we leave here, we'll be heading to the National Zoo. A short walk from the metro stop at the zoo was Tavern 18. This was probably the cheapest place that we ate lunch the entire time in DC, and it was really good food. So this was a neat little stop for lunch before we walked uphill to the zoo. So if you do take the metro to the National Zoo, you do have to walk uphill a little bit once you get off of the train stop. But then we wanted to see the pandas, so there was a little bit of a wait to get into the giant panda house, which I appreciate because they were only letting a few people in at a time. So we just left the Museum of the Bible. We got there right at opening, which was 9 o'clock, and stayed there till we just left at 2. So we were there for over 4 hours, and now we just went and grabbed a quick bite at McDonald's, which is right there by the Museum of the Bible, and headed to the Museum of Space and Air, the Space and Air Museum. It's one of the Smithsonian. So we are headed there now. We have a timed entry of 2 o'clock. We got here right at opening, and the first thing we wanted to do was take the kids into the children's room just before it got real crowded so they could play and exert some energy before going through the rest of the museum. On the top floor, there is a little walkway where you can see the Capitol building that is behind you, and it's a great spot to take a picture. There's also a temporary exhibit right now, which is the Dead Sea Scrolls. It is an additional cost, but it is highly recommended to go in there. You can see some original documents, some pieces that were located at the Dead Sea. Our next stop for the day was the National Air and Space Museum, and these do require you to get a timed entry ticket. They are free, but you still need to get a timed entry ticket, and as long as you go after the timed entry, then that's fine. They just don't want you to come before. And this was a real interesting museum, and being a previous flight attendant, I thought it was really interesting to see how the flight attendant uniforms had progressed. Next, we decided to get back on the metro and stop into Georgetown. So the metro does not go into the city center. It's about a mile walk to get to where all the restaurants and shopping are from the metro, but there's some really great shopping stores. I was so excited to do a little bit of shopping, and then of course we had to eat while we were there, and I wanted to stop by Georgetown Seafood because I had heard so much about their crab cakes, so I wanted to definitely try them out, and then also had to pick up half a dozen donuts from Georgetown Cupcake. But there's plenty of restaurants and some really nice shopping in Georgetown. So we're on our way to one of the Smithsonian museums, the National Museum of Natural History. A little bit of a gloomier day today. I think there's a chance of rain, but we did leave without our rain jackets at the hotel. But we're going to try to make it here when they open, because after this, we do have the FBI experience. We did contact our congressman and got those tickets available for today at 1, and then we'll be going to the Museum of the Illusions. So we plan to start in line at 10 a.m. when they opened to try to get in here. This does not have timed tickets, and this is free admission. And this is the National Museum of Natural History. And the first thing that we decided to do was head to the second floor to see the Hope Diamond before it got super crowded, because I know, having been here before, that gets so crowded and there's a line to see it. So that is the first stop we made, and then we decided to explore everything else after that. Next up was the FBI experience, which you do have to get tickets for the tour through your congressperson, and this was pretty interactive and the kids really enjoyed it. You can kind of go at your own pace. The last thing on the itinerary for this day was the Museum of Illusions, and I think we spent about an hour and a half here. Really neat place. The tickets are not free, and they are timed entry as well. So pretty much a lot of things were timed entry, but very interesting to see all the illusions and to get some really great photos, and we had a really fun time. So today we have been to the National Children's Museum. We were originally planning to go to the Museum of American History, but I think the kids are kind of over the museums a little bit, but they do like the children's museums because they get to play. They are 9 and 12, so they do really enjoy that. So we're there for a couple of hours, and we've got some time before we have our tour scheduled for the Capitol. It is at 2:20, but it does say to be there 45 minutes early, and we booked that probably 30 days in advance to try to get a time. So we're going to do that, and then we always have to find Deep Dish Pizza, Chicago, True Chicago Deep Dish Pizza, so we're going to be heading there after that. So today's kind of a chill day. We're just on our way to the White House to just go through the visitor center. We did try to get White House tickets from our congressman, but they said they weren't doing them at this time. So I don't think they were supposed to be starting them back up until June. And then there's my kiddos in the background. But that is the plan for today. So the National Children's Museum was a great place for them to play. I think we were there probably a total of 2 hours. We got there right at opening, and it was not crowded at all within the first hour. It got very crowded, but this was also Good Friday, so I don't know if that had anything to do with the crowds or if it usually is crowded. But at the very beginning, there was hardly anyone there, and they really enjoyed all the exhibits. Next on the list was to visit the White House Visitor Center, since we couldn't do White House tours. And there were some exhibits and also some things in the gift shop that were for America turning 250. So it was really interesting to see all the exhibits and a replica or a model of the White House. So you could spend about 30 minutes just reading all the information that was here. So I understand why they tell you to be there 45 minutes ahead of your tour schedule, because the security line was quite long. We were outside for about 35 minutes standing in the security line, and then they will direct you to which theater that you need to go to once you get down to the main area. So there's a North Theater and a South Theater, and you'll start your tour there with a short movie, and then your tour guide will take you around with some headphones so you can hear what the tour guide is saying. And I've got to be honest with you, it was beautiful to be in the rotunda and look up at the ceiling, and the architecture is absolutely beautiful. But I did find myself zoning in and out while the tour guide was lecturing and telling some information. And then I have to also tell you that my kids, who are 9 and 12 years old, so this was probably their least favorite thing that they did while on the trip. But I feel like a Capitol tour is something that you need to do, and it's very educational. But it wasn't really something that was interesting to the younger kids. And to finish out the day, we did have to stop in for some Chicago deep dish pizza. We always try to find anybody that has deep dish pizza when we're traveling. And this was a small little area in a beautiful area of Capitol Hill, but definitely some good pizza. As we left, one of the locals said that we found the best pizza place in DC. So we just left Ford's Theater. We had 9 o'clock tickets, and we also had the tickets for the One Destiny play. It was about 30-minute long play. So we were able to go in, see the museum, and then watch the play. And then when we got out, we were going to walk across the street to the Peterson house where Lincoln actually died. But the line was all the way through the block, wrapped around the corner. So as long as you keep your tickets, you can come back. So we were going to grab some lunch and then come back, hopefully be in between some of the plays or things that are in the theater, so that it's not as long of a line. Next, we're going to be going to the National Archives after grabbing some lunch. And then, since the National Archives is pretty close to the Ford Theater, we're going to probably try to come back after that and see if the line has died down to get to the Peterson house. We purchased our tickets to the Ford's Theater about 45 days before we were planning to come, and we chose the One Destiny play. There's some other things that you can do in the theater,
But that was really interesting. It kind of portrayed what happened that night, which was really neat. You could go to the museum before you go into the theater, and then they told us to go to the Peterson house afterwards. But the line was extremely long, as you'll see in just a moment. So we decided to wait about an hour, and we went back, and there was no line at all. So that's what I would highly recommend, is to go in between tours. That way there's not a long line. The last thing we wanted to do while in DC was visit the Archives Museum so we could see the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. After you go through and look at the documents, you can exit the rotunda, and they have a little interactive area for the kids, which they did enjoy. So we probably spent about 45 minutes here at the Archives Museum, and I do hope that you have enjoyed this video and all the things that we did while we were in DC for the week. And if you loved this video, please hit that like button, and also I would love to have you consider hitting the subscribe button as well. Until next time, have a wonderful day.